SVG's Jason Dachman here, another episode of SVG Europe's Platinum Roadmap series, and we have the privilege of being joined by Charlie Horrell, CEO at Imagen. Charlie, thank you so much for taking the time. We know how busy you are. We appreciate it.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and shame we're not face-to-face as we normally are.
It is too bad that we cannot grab a pint on the beach at IBC this year, but we're doing this instead.
And I see your Coors mirror behind you, so obviously that figure's large.
It does, indeed, and I appreciate you noticing. So, Charlie, Imagen has been extremely busy during the pandemic, and obviously it's been challenging times, but it's created a new world when it comes to sports production, a very much a cloud-based world, and that's where you guys play in. So how has Imagen kind of weathered the pandemic and the sports shutdown and tried to continue to serve clients?
Well, as you can imagine, come the middle of March, when all of our sports clients suddenly fell off a cliff in terms of live matches, stadia, all those things. From their point of view, the world suddenly got very complicated. And then after a short period of time, they all sat down collectively or individually and thought, how are we going to get our way through this? And I'm pleased to say that we played a pretty large part in their survival and then subsequent success. So a bunch of our existing clients have used us more and more and more. And we've had some new businesses join us. So that's even better from our point of view. And they've put a lot into the archive. They've used the archive a lot. And they've just been able to provide that content through to broadcasters to at least keep the schedules partially full. And then as sports start to come back into live, they've been able to use it more and more as well.
Great. Excellent. Well, you said as they come back into live, some of the good news has been that a lot of live sports are back, especially in the European continent and now North America as well. How are you guys playing a role now that live sports are coming back? How are you trying to better serve your customers and broadcasters through this now still challenging period of live sports return?
I mean, listen, it's not over for any of us, is it? But live sports has been a pretty important part of our mix for the last 2-3 years. For example, a new business that we won over this period was Major League Soccer, where we were able to help them distribute their live games. So each of the live games they've had in their recent season was brought into our solution and then distributed out through our solution to their media partners and sponsors. So that was a successful case of us winning a new business where our technology played into the hands of the problem, because we're cloud, we're distributed, we're not in their premises, and they were able to use us to distribute their matches across the world. So that worked really well from their point of view, and we're delighted to help them.
Sure, yeah. I'm just curious to follow up on that. How do you kind of see things evolving? Again, we are moving into very much more of a decentralized, a cloud-based type world with live sports hopefully continuing. How do you see not just MLS, but other organizations that you work with continuing to use those kind of workflows?
So I guess about 20% of our sports customers use us on a live basis. Mm-hmm. Virtually all of them use us on an archive and distribution basis, but about 20% use us on a live basis as well. And I think that 20% will grow. So we're in conversations with a bunch more sports to do more distribution of their live content around the world. So I think that 20% will be 40-50% fairly soon. So there will then be customers that use us on their archive, on their distribution, and on their live content as well.
Excellent. Well, again, we're not at IBC. We wish we were.
Yep.
But if we were, what are some would have been announcements, some would have been updates from Imagen, and why do you think these would be of interest to the sports broadcast community?
So one of the announcements we made about 2 months ago, I guess now, was some pretty extensive integration with both Microsoft and Google AI services, which are great from a sports perspective. So we're now able to recognize faces, recognize sentiment, recognize plays, recognize objects, logos, those sorts of attributes that we couldn't do before. So we're now trialing this with a bunch of our sports customers so they can parse the content to work out when that sponsor's logo was available, what the faces were, what the sentiments were, so they can get more value out of their video. And I think, frankly, that's going to be a real game changer for a lot of our sports businesses. So that's, in a sports sense, probably the biggest element. We haven't yet announced it, but I can tell you that we're happy to say so that we've 99% finished our integration with an Adobe panel. So if you're editing in Adobe, you can now go directly from the Imagen solution through to that. So that's great. And that will be out in the next few weeks. So a lot of our more media-based customers, sports included, will find that really helpful. So those would be the two things I guess we'd be talking about the most.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about that logo recognition piece, because it's been interesting when you see the numbers in terms of how much a media organization utilizes its archive. It's always a crazy number, like 1 or 2% or something like that, you know. But the idea of discoverability and monetizing, I think it really seems like we are starting to get to that point where this content isn't just for archival and historical purposes. We're really getting to that monetization piece.
So this is not, I mean, you're absolutely right. You are getting to that monetization piece. And as a direct element of that, we're able now, it's a relatively small piece from our point of view, but our customers are able to trade directly off our platform. So if they store their content in our platform, they can trade and monetize clips off the platform. And we've got a bunch of customers using it who are making really pretty significant numbers out of it. In fact, wow, good numbers from their point of view of revenue that they would not have been able to get before. Now, that's not directly linked to AI and to logo, but it's directly linked to the usability. So the more you tag, the more information you've got on the video, the easier it is to find, the easier it is to monetize.
Absolutely. So it's been a very interesting, we'll say, few months for Imagen, as it has been for the rest of the industry. But with the advances that you guys have made and some of the changes that have happened in the market in the last few months, I'm curious, what else can we expect coming down the line from Imagen, and why do you think that those decisions will be made?
Well, I think in a macro sense, we are seeing an evolution, possibly even a revolution, in all aspects of life, from centralized, on-premise, go-to-work type of environment to a decentralized, stay-at-home with your cause mirror behind you. And that is typically playing into the hands of cloud-based solutions. That's where we sit. That's our sweet spot. So we are having a bunch of conversations that are accelerating in speed and increasing in size with a bunch of sports businesses, but not only, who are saying, okay, this idea of having a bit of tin locked away isn't really ideal from our point of view. We need to have it accessible anywhere in the world at any point. So actually the direction of travel from our point of view is incredibly positive. We're delighted with it. One man's pandemic is another company's modest opportunity for us to make good things happen for our customers. And that's the main point about it. Now, clearly none of us would have chosen the pandemic over this, but in that environment, the decentralized cloud customer-enabled solution is king.
Absolutely. Well, Charlie, thanks so much for taking the time. We appreciate it. We're hoping, fingers crossed, 2021, we'll be back in Amsterdam. We'll see each other in person. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.